welcome back to another pick a card reading on my channel. My name is Corinne, and I'm really excited to get into your tarot cards today. In today's reading, we're going to be taking a look at the energy that's surrounding you, and specifically asking the question, are you on the right path? So maybe right now you have sort of a feeling that you should be asking this question. Maybe you're having some doubts, some fears. Because sometimes being on the right path might not actually feel like it. So today we're going to dive deep and try and get some messages to help give you some clarity on that sort of mindset. So as usual, we have 3 piles to choose from today, and also 3 crystals. So pile 1 has the clear crystal quartz crystal. Pile 2, green aventurine. And pile 3 is opal. Opal is so pretty. And I love it against this white card too. So the timestamps are going to be linked below. If you are new to pick a card readings in general, welcome. Basically what you want to do is really choose a pile that you feel most drawn to. If you're having some difficulty choosing, feel free to pause the video, meditate on the cards, use your intuition and that little voice inside your head to really ask, which pile has the message that's meant for me today. It is totally normal to be drawn to more than one pile. So if you're drawn to pile 1 and 3, feel free to watch both of them. As always, I think you'll hear a lot in the tarot community, I should say, is take what resonates and leave the rest, especially since this is a general reading today. So, but I'm really excited to get into it. We have a lot of great cards to get into and a lot of messages as well. So, all right, I will stop talking and let's dive in. Let's jump into your video. Like I said, if you need some more time to pick a card pick a pile, feel free to pause the video. And if not, timestamps are linked below in the description box. And I'll see you over there. Bye. Okay, hey there, pile 1. If you chose the crystal quartz, this is your reading. So as I mentioned in the intro, in today's pick a card reading, we're going to explore the path that you're currently on and try and get some messages to determine if you're on the right path, which I think that everyone is, but sometimes when we have those feelings and you want to get like a gut check, it's always nice to kind of like ask your spirit guides for some signs. So that's what we're going to do today, and hopefully get you some messages to help you feel like you're on the right track, or right path rather. Or if you feel like you're not, like what are some messages that you can do, or some advice for you on how to get back on the right path. So we have a lot of great cards to get into today. I'm going to be starting with some oracle cards and a healing message. Then we'll get into your tarot, where we'll look at your past, your present, and your future, or at least the energy that's available to you. And then we have even more oracle cards where I have some handwritten messages around timing, and then some signs and symbols as well, that you might see from your spirit guides as, just as like a confirmation for you if you are on the right path, or, a sign or a symbol for when you actually get there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started with your oracle cards. So this is actually, I usually use these in love readings. So not that this is specifically a reading around like relationships, but I think that there's some like good advice cards in here as well. So let's take a look and see what message we have to start your reading off with today. So we have close your eyes and tell yourself that you deserve to feel joyful. You can allow joy into your life, regardless of the circumstances you currently find yourself in. So pile 1, maybe you find yourself right now sort of in a situation where it's hard to feel happy or joy. And maybe that's why you're here today, because sometimes when we start feeling that way, it's kind of like, okay, like, what is my life right now? Like, am I even on the right path? And that can make our day-to-days a little bit overwhelming and stressful. So if you find yourself in that space right now, definitely give yourself some grace. And just know that you deserve to feel joy, even if it doesn't feel like you're on the right path. Like, everyone deserves to feel happiness and joy for their life and for, just the path that they're currently on, or where you are in your path, right? So I'm not saying that like, you have to feel like you're on the right path all the time in order to feel happiness. I think you can find that from within. And I think that's sort of like your opening message today for sure, because you deserve it. So let's see what your healing mantra has to say. Today, I will love myself. Okay, so pile one, some definitely some feelings coming up around, feeling happy, maybe feeling some self-worth. Maybe that's sort of a message for you, to maybe start to feel like you are on the right path, like maybe do something for yourself today, or, as soon as you can, to make yourself feel good, to make yourself feel happy. How can you show love for yourself? I actually have another video on my channel, and it's how you can show yourself some self-love. So maybe check that video out for some more messages or for some confirmations on how you can do that or what it is that your soul needs. But I think it's important these two messages that you got right off the bat here are really important. I think, like I said earlier, you don't have to feel like you're on the right path to feel like you deserve happiness or joy, and you can love yourself. You are not difficult to love, even for yourself. So just some messages to remind you of that, and hopefully that resonates for you. Excuse me. Okay, so now we're going to get into your tarot cards, and I'm going to be breaking up all of your cards into 3 sections. So we're going to look at 3 cards for your past, and kind of gauge, what your path has been up to this point. Then we're going to take a look at the cards representing your present. So, again, like your path led you to this point. What are some things you need to know right now? And then we'll take a look at some cards that will represent the potential energy for your future. Obviously, free will exists. So your future depends on the decisions you make. But, at least we can take a look at some of the energy surrounding your future and some of the possibilities that you have available to you. Okay, so let's get into your tarot. So for your past, we're going to start off with the 2 of Swords. We also have the 2 of Cups. And the Page of Cups. Actually going to try and move some of these things down. So pile 1, I actually wonder, with some of your intro messages, if maybe some of you do need to kind of work on your self-awareness or self-worth a little bit, because I think maybe in the past you've had some relationships, and it doesn't have to be romantic, right? Like it could be like your family relationships or your friend relationships, or just, even like work relationships or school relationships, like just people that you have connected with in your life. I don't know why, but it's almost like you maybe had like a lot of hope for them, or you went into that connection like assuming that you would get a lot of hope and support from them, but maybe like you hadn't. And it's kind of interesting because I wouldn't like immediately get that type of message from this pull, but for whatever reason, I'm getting like a little hint of sadness. So maybe like, or, maybe it's like in your past, you're like, oh, like I had this great relationship. Again, doesn't have to be romantic. But you sort of like left it up to the universe almost to like make a decision on how to move that relationship forward, and it didn't end up panning out. And that can be kind of hurtful and can kind of make us start to question like our own sort of like self-worth. Like, did I make the right decisions? Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's sort of like your theme is, in working on, or at least healing from some of the decisions that you've made around relationships in the past. I think it's kind of like accept it, like maybe you were in the position where you couldn't make a decision about a relationship in the past, and that ended up hurting the other person, or there was a lot of like, it almost feels like there was like a connection that it felt like there was a lot of potential, but you didn't take the right steps maybe, or they didn't take the right steps maybe to give you, or you give them what they needed or what you needed. And that sort of led you to sort of with these feelings of like, you don't deserve happiness or love. So, but I think like, again, like, accept whether this happened to you or you did this, I think it's important to accept that. And it's okay to feel a little bit like indecisive or maybe act from a place of inauthenticity, as long as we learn from it and can grow from it. And I think that's sort of how you can sort of help yourself like understand how to love yourself better, because it's time maybe now to sort of heal from those decisions or heal from what had happened to you in the past in terms of a connection or relationships. And again, it doesn't have to be romantic. Like this could be like a best friend or, any sort of like connection that maybe you still feel a little bit burdened by, if that makes sense. Because it feels like there was like this like feeling of like everything was like rolling along like really great and happy, and then a decision had to be made and someone in that connection couldn't make the decision, whether it was you or that person, and that sort of like affected the way that you see yourself today. So let's take a look at 3 more tarot cards to kind of gauge your present energy. So we have the Queen of Swords, we have the Ace of Cups, and we have the 4 of Coins. So yeah, I genuinely kind of see like some progression here in terms of like maturity, right? So I think maybe whatever happened in your past has definitely helped shaped you and helped you to grow, into where you're at now, right? So this is kind of where we're looking at your current energy. And I think maybe some of these like hurtful things like have sort of like taught you to be a little bit cold when it comes to connections, even though like what's like inside of you is like you want this happiness again, but it's something has sort of like made you feel calloused, and I think that you're holding on to that a little bit too tightly in a sense. So like how can you like open yourself up a bit and let this cup of emotions, as we're seeing here with the Ace of Cups, like I feel like you're like about to burst, like you want to sort of like give your heart and soul to someone, or and again, it doesn't have to be romantic, but maybe it is. But there's sort of this like feeling of callousness around your heart space. And I think that has a lot to do with the decisions that were made like in your past. Like I said, like whether you made a decision that ended up being hurtful for yourself and the other person, or they made a decision that was hurtful to you and honestly themselves too. But this definitely made you very mature, but also very calloused. And I think that you're holding on almost to like the hope of somebody else like coming in and breaking down your walls, when I think maybe like right now in your current energy, in order to sort of like let your cup overrun, it's going to be a lot about like showing yourself like that you deserve happiness and joy, and then also that you deserve love. And I think that comes from a place of self-worth. Like it's great to like put up walls and to like protect yourself, because things that either we made a decision on or other people made a decision on can be hurtful. And, maybe you're afraid you're going to make those decisions again, or, another connection would make those decisions again, but that's not necessarily true. So I think it's important to work on your self-worth a little bit and maybe get at the root of like, get at the root of like, how could you show yourself some self-love? Like I would actually really recommend checking that video out that's on my channel, because I think that'll sort of like give you some more ideas on how you can sort of connect with yourself a little bit, and also sort of break down your walls so that you can really let your emotions flow. So let's take a look at the energy that is available to you in the future. Okay, I'm already loving your cards. You have the 10 of Wands, you have Judgments, and you have the 6 of Cups. So that is so great. So for sure, pile 1, I think you are sort of like the connection pile here. And I can kind of see where I think a lot of this sort of what we've been talking about your past and maybe your present, I think it's all going to come to like a head. And I think that you are going to feel a little bit overwhelmed with the, I don't want to say like burden, but I guess in a sense, it's sort of like you can't carry this emotional weight anymore. And I kind of see you going through this like rebirth. And going through that process, I think, is going to open up a lot of opportunity. I kind of can see someone from your past coming back into your life. So maybe it's the connection from the past that you sort of, had, and things didn't pan out. And even if you guys don't reconnect again on that same level, I think having them come in and show you that they've grown or that they have forgiven you, I think that will help you grow and for you to forgive yourself. So I see this kind of like really playful energy like coming in, but it's going to be the result of a lot of growth and awareness. And I think that really just comes from, again, what we were talking about around like showing yourself, like how can you love yourself? Because that will ultimately, I think, help you, give yourself to somebody else like fully. Because maybe in the past, like you were really afraid to sort of like give yourself to somebody, and that resulted in sort of like this painful sort of ending. And what's so weird too is like I didn't really see like an ending like in your cards. It was more of just like kind of like the feeling that I have. So I hope this is resonating, but right, because it's like the cards itself, like they weren't like giving me like ending vibes for your past 3 cards, but for whatever reason, like that was just like the immediate sadness that I felt. So but yeah, I definitely see some really happy, joyful times coming in, and I do see you growing and it's going to get to a point where like you take the decision, or you make the decision to grow because you can't stand it anymore. Like you get to the point where you're like, no, I don't deserve to be carrying around all this garbage, all this baggage. I need to clear the air. And I think by doing that, maybe even reconnecting with that person or that old friend and having a deeper conversation around like what had happened, or like, where did you go? Like, why did you just like leave me like that? Or, I'm really sorry that I did that to you. I think having that moment, I think the person will be really understanding, or those people will be really understanding. And I think that they have also grown. And I think that sort of like outreach will help you grow even more. And I just think like the possibilities are endless for that growth. So let's get some more oracle cards. And let's get some more messages for you, pile 1. So let's get 2 more cards from our Moonology oracle deck, just to help us understand a little bit more about this path that you're currently on. But I think to answer the question, like if you are on the right path, like, yes, I think that you are. And I think that this healing, like just because we go through moments of healing doesn't mean that we're not on the right path. But sometimes when we heal, it can be very painful, and that can sort of make us question whether or not we're on the right path. So only your soul will know, but I think that you are pile 1, and I think that there's a lot of exciting growth ahead for you, and I think you're going to really be more appreciative of the path that you're on soon. So let's get some more messages. Let's get 2 more cards. Like I said, if they want to come out, sometimes shuffling on camera, I'm like they take so long to come out sometimes, and it stresses me out. And I'm not a very good shuffler, so might just pick one. Okay. Oh yeah, so you have bring love into the situation, new moon in Aquarius. So yeah, I think that's bring love. I think that's really like self-love, like what we've been talking about this whole time. So that's really cool that you got that. I think it's a sign of like this feeling that I was getting of this like cup overflowing, right? How like the emotions are just sort of flowing out, and they're flowing out here in the Ace of Cups as well. Like it's there, it wants to come out. It's just sort of like held into this sort of held back by this dam of like this wall that you've built. It's really kind of like a dam. And I think once you can kind of start to like remove all those stones, like the water is just going to come out. And I think that's going to be really healing for you for sure. And I think it's just a sign that, yes, you are on the right path, like I said, but I think it's time to bring more love and emotion in so that you can start to feel that you are on the right path. And it's okay. I think that we all make decisions, and sometimes they can haunt us, but you can't hold on to that forever. And, you do deserve happiness and self-love. So you also have conclusions are within reach. So in terms of timing, I think that you're almost there. I actually feel like this future energy is not too far off in the future, like definitely not more than a year. So I think that you have like a lot of opportunity right now to sort of dig deep and find out what it is that you can do to cultivate those feelings of self-love. But I don't think that that's, too far away. And then you also have full moon eclipse, which I think we have the eclipse coming up. I'm trying to think when that is. I think it's like April 4th, 2024. So maybe that's sort of a time frame that you can sort of expect, which is actually really soon because I'm filming this at the end of March. So it's really like within the next week or so. So maybe you're almost there, pile one. And, maybe this reading was just sort of meant to confirm that, you're almost there and you're going to start to see sort of those more like positive feelings, and like you'll start to understand like, yes, I'm on the right path. Like that feeling of like, like I know that I'm on the right path it's very soon. I think you'll start to like not have as many feelings of doubt. So let me get some more cards since we're talking about timing. These are my awfully I'm just like going to apologize in advance. My handwriting is not the best. But these are just like handwritten cards that I have to hopefully give you an idea about timing. I just thought it would be good since we were just talking about timing, but just so you can understand like, okay, I understand like my past energy, I understand my present energy, and I understand my future energy. So like, when can I expect that future energy to come in, or when can I expect some shifts on my path to make me feel a little bit more positive about it? So you obviously have conclusions are within reach. So let's see what your timing cards have to say. Whoa. Okay. So like I said, like definitely not more than a year. So I think that, maybe like by like April 8th or whenever that eclipse is, I think it's the 8th. I think you'll start to see like some changes within yourself, maybe around this time. And then maybe by like 1 or 2 years, you'll start to really feel like a little bit more healed, if that makes sense. Which is great. I mean, that's like, honestly, like in the grand scheme of things, like if you're healing and growing, like that is really soon, which says to me that like, I think you've done a lot of work on yourself already. Okay, so let's get just some signs and symbols from your spirit guides to help us understand what signs they might be giving you, or what symbols they might be giving you to help you feel like you're on the right path. So let's get 2. Or actually as many that want to come out. I don't know why I said 2. I initially thought of this as 2, but then immediately was like, no, it should only be 1. So what are some signs and symbols for pile 1 that they can keep an eye out for to help them understand or feel like they're on the right path? Okay, birds. So that's cool. So I actually wonder, want to put these or organize these. You might actually like feel like you're seeing a lot of birds, or maybe like when I wrote this, I was thinking about like you see like an exotic bird that you're like, what is that bird? And you're like, it's like if you live in a town that typically has like robins, like you might see like something really special one day, like on a walk, or like, maybe you're out walking the dog and you're like, what kind of bird is that? Like you might even like take a picture of it and research it later. So that's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting. But like anytime you start to see like a lot of birds, or like maybe this is like your own personal sort of like sign and symbol from the universe for yourself. So you're like, oh, anytime I see birds, I know it's my mother who maybe passed away, or, anytime I see birds, I always have this feeling that like something good is about to happen. So birds are definitely your sign from your spirit guides or from the universe to help you understand, or at least give you some like validation that you are on the right path. So don't be afraid to sort of like take those, when you do start to see these things, like don't be afraid to like take them as confirmation, because it's real. Actually, when I wrote this, a couple of years ago, I was walking through the park, one of the parks in the city that I live in, and I was like, what kind of bird is that? Like, it was so crazy. Like, I don't live in a place that has like typically like a lot of exotic birds or animals like on the East Coast in America. But it was a quail, like just like chilling like in a city park. I was like, what is that? That's so weird. So I had to like go home and like research it a little bit. And I was like, what is this bird? Because it looked so unique. Anyway, pile 1, 1 to 2 years, I can totally see you being a little bit more fully healed. I think it's really important, just to reiterate, to start showing yourself some self-love, because you do deserve happiness. You deserve love. You deserve it all. And your past doesn't necessarily mean that like, you're not on the right path, or, maybe some decisions that you made in the past. Like it doesn't mean that you're not meant to have love and happiness and all the good things, That's all going to come, but I think it's going to come from a lot of self-awareness and growth and self-love. So pile one, those are all the messages I have for you today. I hope this reading resonated. Please like the video if it did, or comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more readings coming up, and every Saturday I try to post a video called the Saturday Morning Vibe Check, where we just dig deep, get cozy, and really just kind of like check in on the energy that's surrounding you for that weekend, and kind of get like a little bit of like a look ahead into the week or the weekend, just some messages for you that you need to hear in that moment. So stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, hey there, pile two. If you chose the green aventurine crystal, then this is your reading. As I mentioned in the intro, today's pick a card reading, we're going to be taking a look at the energy that's currently surrounding you, and get some messages and confirmations on whether or not you're on the right path. I tend to think that everyone is on the right path, even when it doesn't feel that way. But maybe right now you're in a situation where you find yourself sort of questioning this, like within yourself. So maybe you sort of found yourself here just to get some confirmations and some messages to help guide you along the way. So pile one had a great reading. I'm really excited to get into yours. A lot of great cards to get into today. We're going to start with some oracle cards and some healing mantras. Then I'm going to do your tarot reading, where we'll get into your past energy, your present energy, and your future energy. And then I have some handwritten messages and some more oracle cards along the way. So let's get into it. Let's start with your oracle cards. So I said this in pile one, but this deck is usually used, or I usually use it for love readings. And this isn't necessarily a love reading by any means, but I mean, maybe some messages around relationships come up, but I thought that this deck also has some interesting sort of like messages like in it itself. So let's see what message you have to start your reading off with. So we have: acceptance is the key to inner peace. At times, we must accept things as they are. There is no point trying to change that which is beyond our control. So pile two, I'm, kind of just reading that. I'm wondering if right now you're in a position where you're sort of like wondering like about your situation, and maybe trying to like make some changes like really quickly based on some hot and heavy emotions. Like I'm getting like some feelings of feeling like being overwhelmed in a sense. So I'm just wondering if maybe that's like where you're at currently in your current energy, which we'll get into in your tarot reading. But I think the message here is pretty obvious, and it's about like acceptance, right? So like there's things that we can't change. There's things that we can change through growth and awareness, but I think that there's a lot that we can't. And I think that it's important to sort of like just accept the fact that like, or even sometimes I feel like it's like about like looking at like the bigger picture, right? So like, that there's, if you have a certain goal, there's like a beginning, like the beginning stages of like starting that goal. And there's sort of like a middle where you're sort of like in the process of obtaining the goal. And then there's the end, which is like the goal. So you have to just like realize that the things that we can't change, like, is that process essentially, right? So it's like right now you might be going after like a really ambitious goal of yours. And hey, I mean, maybe you're like in the middle of like making it happen, and you're starting to like question if you're on the right path because it's maybe not coming in or happening as quickly or in the timeline that you imagined it would. But if you just kind of like accept that like where you are right now in obtaining that goal, like it might be totally necessary for it to take this long, for it to be successful in the end. So, I think practicing acceptance is going to be really helpful for you. And just kind of being like, okay, yeah, like I'm here, like this is where I'm at. And that doesn't mean that's sort of like the end, right? You're still working on it. You can still keep going. But it really starts with that acceptance, I think. And then you have these negative feelings are only temporary. So for whatever reason, I do kind of feel like this group is sort of like working towards something, like a big goal of theirs. And, like there might be some like frustration, like I kind of said earlier, on like how long it's taking you to sort of like accomplish something. Or maybe it's like, you're trying to reach a certain goal or like a creative project, and you're like, like, why is it taking so long? And maybe you start to see the project itself as being a little bit more overwhelming than it is rewarding. And again, like, I think, just thinking about what we're talking about in terms of like accepting like where you are in the overall process, I think that'll really help a lot of those feelings of negativity that maybe are starting to like surface around the goal and the process for you. Like, it'll help that like slip away a little bit. And I think it'll be like a little bit easier to manage for sure. So let's go ahead now and take a look at your tarot cards. I have a lot of cards here, actually. We're going to take a look at I think it's helpful, like if we're going to be taking a look at your path and getting an understanding of like if you're on the right path. It's kind of important for me to take a look at your past energy, the energy that's currently surrounding you, and then your future energy. Now, when I say future energy, I obviously believe in free will. I think that it exists, and I think that today we're just going to be looking at like a snapshot of some energy that is available to you if you choose to take it. So just some things to keep in mind, that it's not like I'm like trying to be like, like this is going to happen. And like, definitely, I think that, we have the power to make our own choices in this life. And I think, really this is just going to be like a tool to help guide you for understanding and awareness purposes. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started. So for your past energy, we're starting off with the High Priestess. We also have the Ace of Wands. And the Moon. So I feel like, like for whatever reason, pile 2, I was getting the sense like in the beginning that like this is a group that's like working toward a specific goal. And I kind of feel that with like the Ace of Wands. Like I feel like maybe some of you are going through like or had gone through sort of a process of like a spiritual like awakening. And, you sort of decided in that process to kind of like face the unknown in a sense. And like through that process, you got this like divine idea, like, right. Like, it's almost like, I feel like I see someone like doing like a meditation. And then like in that meditation, like having this like really grand idea about like a creative project or maybe even like a business to start. Like, I don't know, you're like, maybe I should open my own yoga studio, or like, maybe I should open my own like meditation practice, or like my own tarot community on YouTube. Whatever it is, like it doesn't have to be spiritual either. It could be like, maybe I want to open up my own like e-com site or become an influencer or something. But I think there was this like deep knowing that there was something greater, bigger for you, and you sort of set off in the past to try and discover what that was. And I think in some sort of spiritual practice like meditation, or even sometimes I feel like high intensity workouts can be a little bit meditative in a sense, because, that's just me, because I love high intensity workouts, I guess. But sometimes I could get like some really good ideas when I'm like going for a run, or like if I'm in like spin class. But so it's something like that, right? That like, it came from what feels like your soul or like your intuition. So like you had this idea, this creative project, you could sort of like start to see the path of like how to bring that project to life or that goal to life. Like I said, for some of you, I feel like this is kind of like a business, like opening up your own studio or like hair salon or like something like that. You were like, oh my God, wait, I would be really good at that, and you just kind of like have this gut feeling that it would be successful. And I think you're kind of coming from a place of like, I know there's a lot of like unknowns with this, but I feel it deeply that like this is such a good idea and I should move forward with it. And I think you were sort of like in the past, like really, really excited about this idea, and it sort of helped you maybe come out of like a dark place, like at that time, because it's sort of like the way that the cards are depicted here. It's sort of like jutting, like if this is the idea, it's like jutting out in between like two areas of darkness and unknown. Even though these aren't like negative cards, right? Like darkness doesn't have to be negative. It could kind of be like, maybe you felt a little bit lost in the recent past or in the past, and like this idea really kind of like made you feel like you were set out on like this path because you felt like you should be doing it, or you felt like deep down like this was meant for you. So let's take a look at the energy that's currently surrounding you in your present. You have the Wheel of Fortune. You have the Chariots. Okay, try and push all these down. And you have the 8 of Coins. So I do kind of get the sense that like, yeah, like you started actually like you started like actually going on the process of like making this business or creative project or goal. Like you started like making this happen. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit because I can't see all the cards and I don't think you can. Okay. And I think in your current energy, you're like, okay, yeah, like maybe like when you set out on this, like things were really moving and shaking, right? Like you were like, this is working, like I'm really doing it. But now you're sort of in a position where you're like looking at the business, like looking at what you've created more from like a business and like work sense. And it's almost like you could see the possibility of this thing growing even bigger. Or do you sort of continue down the path of like putting the same amount of effort into what you've been doing and just sort of like staying in that space. So it's almost like you're torn between like where do I want to take this next kind of feeling. And I think that is sort of making you pause and reflect and kind of question a little bit. Maybe there's some like feelings of negativity coming up around that, like coming up with those answers and making that kind of decision can be overwhelming and frustrating. But I think the cards are suggesting that like this decision is like meant to come up. Like with the Wheel of Fortune, like it's almost like no matter what path or what decision you make, like I genuinely feel like this will be successful for you. And I see you sort of like making it happen. You're going to be like, no matter what, you're going to be like putting in the work to like make this idea happen. And I think that's kind of like where you're at now, is sort of like deciding like, okay, but like which work stream do I want to go down? Like which path? Because you can kind of see the possibilities of success with both. And I think, like I said, like that can sometimes lead to feelings of negativity because you're like, okay, if I can't make this decision, like, can I make any decision? But I think going back to that bit about acceptance, I think it's important to just recognize that like, even now, if you're like struggling to make the decision, like this is where you're meant to be. You're meant to be in this position where you have to make the decision. Like think about that. Like even if you didn't have this divine idea, like in the past, like stay grateful for the fact that like you have to make this decision. And I think accept that like it's just gonna be part of the process. And no matter what decision you make, it has to be the right one because it's what's meant to be. And I think that you'll soon start to see like once you do make that decision, like I said, I think you're going to be able to start like refocusing and like really putting in the dedication and like really putting in the work to like bringing this thing to life. For whatever reason, I do get the sense that this is like I don't know why, like I feel like it's like you're like almost, maybe for some of you it's like you're in a position right now where you're like looking for like investors. Like I'm picturing someone who has like had the idea, like they had some success, they went into the unknown. They trusted their gut and their intuition, but now you're like, okay, I have a lot of decisions to make and I need some like financial like backing to help make me like move this thing along. Like, I could picture you being like, hey sharks, today I'm like looking for, X amount of $1,000 for X percent, like sort of like looking for maybe a little bit more of a financial investment from a third party, to help you, or even like a mentor to like help guide you to make the decision that you have to make, or just to kind of like help guide you just in general to like you can almost like see how it's meant to work, but it's like you're not sure how to like get there kind of thing. So like maybe that's sort of like what's holding you up and making you feel a little bit frustrated around the process. Because I do get this feeling of like excitement, but then also like frustration around the process. But like the process is like you need to accept the process. So don't feel negative about it because the process is the process. And you have this idea to bring this business to life or this goal or project to life because you were meant to. So don't hate the process. You know what I mean? Like try and be grateful for the bigger picture, because I think, like I said, like even if you are looking for an investor or you are sort of looking to make a decision on your own, like whatever that is, like I can really just see you putting in the work and the dedication once that decision is made, or once that person comes in and helps you make that decision. It's like you're going to be able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together like soon, which is great. So let's take a look at your future energy, starting off with the Fool. You also have Strength and the 10 of Cups. So pile 2, I think that, again, I think there's this decision that you're going to make. And now that we're looking at the future cards, I see you making the decision. And I think that decision is going to be really fresh. Like I feel like you're going to feel like this weight has been lifted. You feel like you're going to be able to kind of like now move this project or this business and this new vision. And it's going to I feel like it's going to take off. And I feel like leading up to this point, like all of the mistakes, all of the wins, all of the things that you've learned in the process are really going to, like, it's almost like this, with the Fool card, it's like you're starting off on this new journey, but you're coming in with like the strength of, like having like the patience and the know-how almost of like okay, like I can feel comfortable feeling like new or something, like new on this like new path of the decision that you made. But it's like you have like the backing of like, okay, like I'm stronger now. Like I have all the knowledge and the wisdom and the things that I've done in the past leading up to this point. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to feel like extremely just like happy and fulfilled, like by making this decision. So again, I think that to like kind of sum this up, it's like, you know, you may have had this like goal and project, and sometimes when we set out to like do that or to accomplish that, it can feel really new and exciting. And I think that right now you're in a position where you have grown a bit in this process, both spiritually and literally, where the business has grown or the idea has grown and you've made a lot of progress on it, but it's like there's more work to be done. And that can be overwhelming and can kind of make you feel like, oh, do I want to keep doing this? Like maybe that's even your decision too. Like the work has gotten to a point where you're like, do I keep doing this? Like it's a lot of work, you know, and like it's been really rewarding so far, but do I want to keep putting in the work and the effort to like, you know, make this thing happen? Or do I just keep going down the same path and see what happens? And I think, again, like the decision is yours to make, but I think it's important to accept where you are in the process. And like that decision is part of the process. And at the end of the day, no matter which decision you make, I think it's going to be successful for you. I think you're going to feel like you're set off on a whole new path, in a whole new direction. Like it's almost like everything had been working to a certain point, but then either this mentor or like this decision is made, like the mentor comes in, the decision is made, whatever. And you're just sort of now feeling like free, like, like the whole weight's been lifted. I can finally like do the things that I want to do with the business or with myself, my personal life. And yeah, I think the process leading up to this point is giving you a lot of strength and awareness and wisdom. And I just see your future energy being completely fulfilling and happy. So let's get into some more oracle cards. I'm going to try and pull 2 for you just to get some confirmations. This is the Moonology deck. Whoa. Okay, let's get 2 cards. A whole bunch just explode on me all over the floor. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to shuffle these. Okay, it is taking a long time. Sorry, guys. So we're like shuffling live on camera. I'm like, okay, I'm just supposed to like take 2 cards. Okay. Okay, so you have expect powerful change. And yeah, I think that's really what we're seeing here for like your future energy. So it's like once this decision is made, I think that Wheel of Fortune is going to start to bring in some of this powerful change that maybe you're kind of like wanting. And again, we also have the new moon eclipse, and I think we have that eclipse coming up in April. I'm filming this video in March, the end of March of 2024, and we have an eclipse coming up on April 8th, I believe. So maybe that's like a time frame, and actually pile 1 got that as well. So maybe there's just like a collective like shift in energy coming up like around that time frame for everybody. But I do kind of see like this change coming in for you based on a decision that you will make, and step out of your comfort zone. So I think maybe that's sort of just, you know, maybe like you'll know for yourself, but like maybe that's just sort of like a sign of like what it is that you need to do to sort of like shift the energy. You know, maybe it's stepping out of your comfort zone is just like accepting where you are, kind of going back to like the beginning of the reading. But I think that might be just like a specific message for people out there. And I think if you're watching this and this is resonating, I think you'll know what that comfort zone is and what you need to do to step out of it. So I'll leave that one up to you all to interpret, but I think it makes sense in the context of your reading. So let's get some handwritten cards. I have signs and symbols and then some timing. So let's pull some signs and symbols first and just try and understand like what signs or symbols you might see in the process to help you get some confirmation or validation that you are on the right path or that you're making the right decision, I guess, in your case. This could be from the universe, from your spirit guides, whatever resonates the most for you. These are also, I just want to apologize in advance for my horrific handwriting. Okay, so you have song lyrics. So maybe you're someone who listens to a lot of music. And I know sometimes for me, like a couple times, like I've been like listening to like a song or whatever. Maybe like I had never heard a song before and it gets recommended to me. And I'm like, why did the lyrics of this song like make me feel like they are speaking to me? So you might be kind of just like listening to music like nonchalantly, and then all of a sudden you hear like a line that totally resonates with your situation. So I think like, you might hear some music along the way, or, keeping not an eye out, keep an ear out for some lyrics that you really resonate with, because I think that could be a sign for you that you're on the right path, and, or the decision that you made is the right one. Maybe even it's worth it to sort of like ask your spirit guide specifically to send you song lyrics when you're feeling like you don't know where to go or where to turn, or to give you a confirmation that you're on the right path. So that could be just a general sign for you to keep an eye out for. So we're going to end your reading with some timing. So just to kind of understand, like there's obviously a decision that needs to be made in your energy, and some shifts that are going to come in for you. So let's get an understanding of timing and how long it's going to take, or how quickly it'll take for this to come in for you, this change or this shift. Whoa. Came flying out. Okay, so you have winter. So I would say that like the winter season might be important for you in terms of timing. So I'm in the Northeast in the United States. So winter for us is between January. Well, I mean, technically it's like December through March. But, I think, wherever you are in the world, like watching this, like whatever winter months mean to you or whenever that is, that would be, I think, the time frame that this could come in. So yeah, so like I'm filming this right now at the end of March. 2024 probably get posted in April, and so that's not too far away, less than a year's time for that winter time frame to come in. So really, anytime between, I'd say like December 2024 and like early 2025, like you might start to see those shifts come in. So, okay, pile 2. Those are all the messages I have for you today. I hope this reading resonated. Please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel for more videos. I will be posting more. And I do have a series on my channel called the Saturday Morning Vibe Check, where we just sort of get cozy, get your favorite breakfast beverage, and we take a look at the energy that's surrounding you for the weekend or the week ahead. Just to kind of gauge like what it is you need to know in that moment. So stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, hey there, pile 3. I'm just going to grab my coffee really quick. Welcome to your reading. So if you chose the opal crystal, then this is your reading today. So as I mentioned in the intro, today's pick a card reading, we're going to be exploring the path that you're currently on and getting some messages on if you're on the right path, maybe some messages to help guide you and make some decisions along the way. I personally think that everyone is on the right path, even though sometimes it might not feel like it. So maybe that's just kind of like where you're at today. Like you kind of have a sense that you are on the right path, but you just kind of want to like check in with your spirit guides or the universe and just get some clarifying or some confirming messages to validate that feeling. Or maybe you're here today because you're starting to doubt whether or not you are on the right path. So I hope that this reading today can help give you that clarity. So we have a lot of great cards to get into today. I'm very excited. Piles 1 and 2 had really awesome readings, so I'm excited to get into yours. I'm going to be starting with some oracle messages, some healing mantras, and then we'll dive into your tarot, where we'll take a look at your past energy, your current energy, and your potential future energy. When we get to that point, I always say I genuinely feel like free will exists. So even though we're going to be looking at future energy, I definitely want you to know that it's like nothing is written in stone. you definitely have the free will to make your own decisions in this life. And it's really just meant to help guide you and to give you sort of a sense of what the potential energy is for you to step into if you choose to do that. So, and then we have some more oracle cards and some handwritten messages on timing and signs and symbols that I'll get into at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Going to start with an oracle card today. So this is the Love Oracle. This is a card from the Lover's Oracle deck. And usually I use these only for like love or relationship readings, but I usually find that there's some like really insightful information on some of the cards, actually in all of the cards, and they can kind of have meanings that sit outside of just like relationships. So, you might be here because you're asking about like, am I on the right path because of a relationship, which is totally fine. And, we can get into like what your sort of path is in a minute, but just wanted to note that like there's some really great messages like on these cards, just like outside of relationship, excuse me, stuff. So opening your reading, we have forgiveness. So stop focusing your energy on past events, for life is too precious to waste. You create your reality by what you think, dream, and imagine. So pile 3, I almost said pile 1. So pile 3, I think maybe you're in a situation right now, maybe this is why you're here, where you're starting to really like focus too much on the past, or at least that's what this card is suggesting. Maybe there were some decisions made in the past that maybe you're not so proud of. It's kind of sounding a lot like pile 1. So if you're here from pile 1, maybe this is, another message for you. Or if you were also drawn to pile 1, maybe go back and watch that. But, we're just at the beginning of your reading, so I don't want to like give too much away. But yeah, I think, I think this card is really straightforward to me. Like, not really a lot of room for interpretation here. I think it's important to not focus too much on past events and letting those past events like define your future. So like I said, like there may have been decisions that were made that maybe you're not proud of. Or like, yeah, I think that's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting. It's kind of like you're too focused on the fact that okay, well, XYZ didn't work out for me in the past, so why would it work out for me now or in the future? Like that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, well, maybe XYZ like 2 years ago didn't work out for you because it wasn't meant for you at that time. But that's not to say that you still can't have those things now. So I think it's important to, 1, forgive yourself for feeling that way. I think that's totally normal. I know I'm guilty of feeling that way a lot. But I do think that, it's like kind of like as this card suggests, like life really is too short and too precious to kind of just like only focus on the past. Like do what you can to sort of like remain present in the now. And I think that'll help you kind of feel a little bit more at peace with, maybe like I said, like some things that had happened in the past, or maybe even in some cases, like where that might affect the decisions that will eventually impact your future. So let's take a look and see what one of your healing mantras is. Oh, because good things are coming. Yeah, I mean, like it's the past is the past, like it's time to sort of accept that and maybe sort of like put the past to bed, because all this good stuff is sort of like in the wings for you right now. And I think it's important to do some work right now to kind of be like, okay, I need to heal from some stuff that had happened to me, because you want this good stuff to come in. And we'll obviously get into your tarot cards in a minute, where, we might get some confirmation around these 2 messages. But I genuinely just kind of feel like maybe you're here because the process of letting go or forgiving yourself for the past is overwhelming, and you're starting to question like your entire life's purpose in a sense. Like, I don't know if it's that deep, but I get the sense that it's kind of like there's a lot of fear around what the possibilities of the future could be because of the past that you had. And right now in the present, you're almost like too focused on the past and not necessarily focused on like a beautiful future. It's almost like I'm seeing like something, or you wanted something, whether it be like a relationship or a job or like whatever, and like that didn't work out for you. And now you're like, oh, because that didn't happen, like I'll never have it. And it's like, well, no, like I think good things are coming. Like that wasn't meant for you, but like all this other beautiful, gorgeous stuff, this whole gorgeous life is. So But it's totally fine to like feel that way. And I think there's no shame in admitting that you do feel that way. But I think admitting that is the first step to forgiveness. And it's almost like having the awareness of the past is the past, the future is the future, but I'm going to remain in my present to sort of stay grounded. So let's go ahead and jump into your tarot. I'm excited for the good things that are coming. So I pulled 3 cards, but you actually got 4, so that's cool. Congratulations. So we're going to be taking a look at a few cards for your past, a few cards for your present, and a few cards for your future. So let's get into your past energy and sort of get a sense of maybe why or like what led you to sort of feel like you're questioning or doubting, or you're trying to get some clarity on your path and like where it's going today. So starting off your reading, we have the King of Swords. And again, this is energy representing your past that we're getting into first. And the other piles, I was trying to pick 3 for each past, present, and future. And you got 4 for your past, like I said. So hopefully I can make enough room on screen here. You also have the 7 of Coins. You have the Emperor and the Queen of Cups. So one of the things that I'm kind of seeing like right off the bat is that I think there were maybe like 2 very like influential people like in your past. Like for some of you, I'm, and this might not resonate for everyone, but I'm getting this feeling of like a really solid like family foundation where, you know, maybe you had like a traditional like mother and father or like a motherly or fatherly figure. Like it doesn't have to be like man or woman. Like I'm just saying you had like a really solid base, and it doesn't have to be like 2 people. It could be, you know, 1 person like raising you. Like I'm not trying to say like this had to be like a stereotypical family situation, but I get the sense that this person or these people who are maybe guiding you early in your life, parents, guardians, whatever that may be, could even be like 2 teachers, you know, it's however it's resonating for you. But there were 2 very influential people in your life that, you know, they were very strong, and they sort of like helped you to see like how your adult life could or should be, and sort of like set you off on the path of like putting the work in and like growing something beautiful and stable for yourself. Like it's almost like they may have given you a financial start like very early in life. So like maybe they gave you like some inheritance money, and that sort of like set you up for like this like stable life, you know, coming into like adulthood. Or maybe, you know, again, like take the timing however it resonates, but this is just kind of like the vibe that I get, where you're like kind of feeling like, okay, I have the tools to sort of like create this very stable life for myself in both like a metaphysical sense, where I had these 2 people as like really amazing inspiration of like what my life could be, both from like how to think about your life and how to feel about your life. And then also like there's this sort of like energy around like finances that I'm getting. So it's like something like was almost like already like grown, right? So it's like already like baked. Like, so I'm kind of feeling like it's like an inheritance was sort of like given to you. And then you were able to sort of like create this stability for yourself early on, which a lot of times doesn't happen, right? So like a lot of times people don't have that, and they have to sort of like crawl their way up. That makes sense. But I get the sense that you were given sort of like a really solid base. And not that it didn't come without work. Like I think there was some effort that you had to put in, or something you had to prove yourself to like put in. But I'm getting the sense that this was sort of like provided for you. There's like a lot of like providing feelings. So let's get into your current energy, which is the 10 of Coins. You have the Queen of Coins, and you have the 9 of Wands. Yeah, pile 3. I get the sense that like this sort of like foundation that was like built for you at a very early age, or, you know, again, like take the timing as it resonates. It's just kind of like what I'm feeling. I get the sense that that really sort of like set you up to be very successful now. So it's kind of like you have the knowledge of that parental or parent figure or figures in your life. And, you know, now you're sort of like walking in their footsteps, and that has led you to even more financial abundance. And maybe you find yourself now in a position where you're sort of like looking at looking at like your long-term future and just kind of like trying to figure out the steps to get you to that like ultimate happiness where it's like you have the like have sort of like the life that those parental figures earlier in your life sort of like shown you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like maybe now you're maybe like a little bit older and you really focused on growing your career and your finances like even more so. But now you're sort of like, okay, how do I like continue to do this and then also like continue to build like my life? It's almost like this feeling of like creating this life for yourself based on some inspiration that you had as a younger kid. In terms of like what you always wanted your life to look like based on like the inspiration from your parents or parent, whatever that may be. But I kind of get the sense that like you're almost there and it's sort of like that like last minute, like it's like the 9 of Wands, like I think in this deck particularly is about like that final push. So, you know, you're kind of like at this place now where you're like almost like you feel like maybe you don't have to or want to push yourself even more, that maybe you have to. And so now maybe you're sort of like doubting your path up to this point, even though it largely looks really positive. You know, maybe you're like, well, why is it so difficult? You know what I mean? Like, why do I have to push myself so hard when it looked like my parents or this parent figure made it look so easy? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you like, we're like, oh, this is how life was supposed to be. And now that you're sort of like in that position yourself, like as an older adult or an adult per se, like I just got the sense that you're like, wait, like my life isn't like panning out the way that I thought it would be, even though I'm very grateful for all the things that I have or have been given or worked for and earned. You almost feel like it's like this final push is like exhausting you. And I can kind of see yourself sort of like really digging into, I think like with the cards earlier were suggesting like really digging into your past and being like, like, was it all worth it? Like maybe you can kind of sense like some rockiness in your financial stability coming up. Like, you know, like maybe you know that like there's like a big purchase that you have to make or like something like that might sort of feel like it's like rocking your finances like coming up, you know, and it's kind of like, why didn't they prepare me for this? Or like, why wasn't I prepared for this? You know, like, why do I have to push myself this hard at this like last stage? Kind of feels like. But I do kind of feel like the challenges that lie ahead for you, like you have like all the tools and the knowledge to like handle them. And I think that generally speaking, like, you know, like the challenges that you might be faced with right now, like, yeah, they might be like making you question your past and maybe making you question the path that you're currently on. But I think that you have the capacity to handle them with a lot of grace. And I think you're going to persevere, like, honestly. And I think it's kind of worth it. Like, again, like going back to like what the card said in the beginning here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, like it's important to sort of like forgive maybe like, again, like the parental figures in your life didn't necessarily prepare you for this challenge. You know, but it's not worth it right now to keep focusing on the past because the past is the past and they did their best and maybe you did your best. But these challenges can ultimately lead to like good things that are coming. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of like feels that way. So let's take a look at your future energy and see what the cards have to say. So we have the 6 of Coins. Sorry. The 5 of Coins and the Hanged Man. Yeah, and I think this is kind of giving me the vibes of like seeing things from a different perspective because like it's almost like things aren't like that bad. You know what I mean? Like maybe this is kind of interesting how it's kind of getting the vibe of like maybe you can kind of like sense this like financial change like coming in for you. Like yeah, like it's almost like this feeling of like a fear or like a knowing of a financial decision that needs to be made that could potentially like puts you in a hardship situation, or it's like this final push is making you feel like it's like almost like this like feeling of like being like left out or something, because you didn't see this coming, and it's almost like, well, how could I not see this coming? Like, I had this great past, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, you have to like understand that like good things are still coming. Maybe you just need to see this in a completely different way and be generous with yourself. Like, be kind to yourself. You know, I think that's really important to know too, because I think maybe don't even have like the shame of like going back to like these parental figures and getting advice on whatever this impact could be, because you might find out that it's like, if you just look at it a different way, it's actually not that bad. You know, like, hey, like great things are coming as a result of this. And I think there's going to be sort of like a change in your circumstances for the positive, though maybe at first it feels like really unstable and really like unstable is kind of like the feeling that I'm getting, even though you're almost like, well, but I've been only shown stability and I have all the stability now. Like, this final push of it almost feels like there's like a final step that you're taking now and working toward a life that you want, and it could potentially or the fear is that push could potentially impact you financially or to your health or like relationships. But really it's just about like kind of like seeing things a different way, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and get some more messages from your oracle cards. I'm going to be pulling 2 more oracle cards just to get some more messages, some confirmations based on what we're seeing in your tarot today. Okay. So you have emotions are running high, supermoon, and adjustments are required. So yeah, I think that's kind of like the kind of feeling that I had as I was like reading your cards. Like, there's this like feeling of like, I think the emotions are running high in this case is like you like really focusing in on the past and sort of like, well, how didn't I see this coming? And that being really like a frustrating emotion to have to navigate. But I think it's like the adjustments are really like we were talking about earlier, is sort of like coming from a place of forgiveness for yourself or the people who maybe led you here. And then take the steps needed for yourself to make those adjustments. Like, try and figure out like what it is that you can like adjust in these circumstances to like avoid this sort of hardship, or how you can be more kind to yourself. And then also I think it's about like knowing that like if you kind of just like shift your perspective a bit and like adjust the way that you're seeing the situation, I think you'll kind of start to feel like, okay, I can kind of see how this is panning out for me now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're maybe like at a point in your path where you're sort of like too focused on looking back because the future feels too unknown. But if you just sort of like adjust the way, maybe you like tilt your head a little bit, you'll kind of see like, okay, the path ahead isn't that scary actually. And the emotions that I'm feeling are completely fine and completely normal. But I'm going to forgive myself for having them. I'm going to forgive the people who maybe gave me advice that maybe led me here because they were just doing their best. But it's really kind of like stepping into your own power in a sense and kind of like seeing things the way that you actually want them to be and what's kind of like meant for you. It's kind of like the feeling that I'm getting. So let's get some handwritten messages. So we're going to get some signs and symbols. So I apologize right now for my horrific handwriting. But this is really just meant to, show you some signs, maybe some symbols, to help you understand like your spirit guides are with you. So if you're feeling or questioning or doubting your path, like look for these things because they might be sort of a sign that you are actually on the right path. Sometimes I'll like specifically like ask the universe or my spirit guides. I'll be like, okay, oh my God, this is so weird because I just had what I was going to say. You got repeating numbers as a sign for you. And what I was about to give you as my own personal example was I'll sometimes be like, okay, like if I start to doubt something, I'm like, okay, like show me 333. That's kind of like where I'm at right now. Like show me 333 if this is going to happen, or to show me that I'm on the right path. So I think like if you see like repeating numbers, or maybe if you ask them to show you repeating numbers, that can be like a nice little sign for you that you are on the right path and that you don't really have to have that fear. You know what I mean? So keep an eye out for repeating numbers. Like I said, like you can ask specifically to see a repeating number, or if you just start to see like a repeating number, like keep an eye out for that, because that's going to be a sign for you that you are on the right path. And then I'm going to pull some more, one more pile of handwritten messages around timing. So obviously for the future energy that you have, or just kind of like just giving you an idea of like when things could possibly shift for you. You have summer. That is fantastic. So I am filming this at the end of March 2024. I'll probably post it early April 2024. But depending on when you're watching it, I mean, like summer, especially if you're watching it now, like in the moment when I post this, I mean, summer is like literally around the corner. So I think you're going to start to feel some positive shifts coming in for you very, very soon. You know, or if you live in a region or a place on the earth where summer is like the next season away, like right now you're actually coming into winter. I mean, really, like in the grand scheme of things, waiting until summer, if that's the case, it's really soon, you know? It's not like we're talking about like a long way ahead here. Or just in general, like if you don't feel like for your own self, like this could happen very soon, like maybe it's just the summer months wherever you are in the world, or like warmer weather. It's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting. So pile 3, those are all the messages I have for you today. I hope this reading resonated. I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for more videos on my channel. I plan on posting a lot more in the coming weeks, especially to my Saturday morning vibe check series, where we dive into the energy that's currently surrounding you every Saturday morning, and to give you sort of just like an outlook, like a look ahead into the weekend, the week ahead, or just some kind of like general like energy check-ins that you should know. So stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.